Good morning. Today I want to talk about something that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It's not talent, luck, or even opportunity, it's hunger. I'm talking about that relentless, insatiable drive to achieve your goals, to conquer your challenges, and to become the best version of yourself. In the words of David Goggins, a man who transformed his life through sheer willpower, you have to be hungry. Hunger is what makes you get up before the sun, lace up your shoes, and put in the work when no one's watching. It's what keeps you pushing through pain, fatigue, and self-doubt. It's that voice in your head that says, I can do more, when everyone else tells you to stop. Growth happens outside your comfort zone. The truth is, most people live their lives avoiding discomfort at all costs. They choose the path of least resistance, seeking convenience, security, and predictability. But if you want to achieve something extraordinary, you have to embrace discomfort as a vital part of the journey. This mindset shift is what separates the average from the exceptional. Discomfort is not the enemy. It is a powerful teacher that reveals your weaknesses and pushes you to confront them head on. When you willingly put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you build resilience, mental toughness, and an unshakable belief in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. The problem with staying comfortable is that it leads to stagnation. When you only do what's easy, you stop growing. Your mind becomes complacent, and your body gets used to the routine. Progress requires stress, both physically and mentally. In the gym, muscles grow by tearing and repairing stronger. The mind operates the same way. You have to stress it with challenges that force adaptation and growth. This is why David Goggins advocates for embracing the suck. It's about seeking out situations that make you question yourself, that make you want to quit, and then refusing to give in. It's in those moments when your lungs are burning and your mind is screaming to stop that you discover what you're truly capable of. Choosing discomfort intentionally rewires your brain. When you push through pain and difficulty, you teach your mind that hardship is temporary and that you can endure far more than you think. This process builds what Goggins calls a calloused mind, tough, resilient, and unbreakable. Each time you step outside your comfort zone, you add another layer of toughness. You begin to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to test your limits. This shift in perception is crucial. Most people retreat at the first sign of difficulty because they've trained their minds to associate discomfort with failure. But if you learn to see discomfort as a signal that you're on the right path, you'll keep pushing forward when others give up. A powerful example of embracing discomfort is cold exposure. Taking cold showers or ice baths is physically unpleasant, but it trains your mind to stay calm under stress. The practice forces you to focus, breathe, and endure, even when every nerve in your body is telling you to get out. The real value isn't in the cold itself, but in teaching your mind that you can control your response to discomfort. This control translates into every area of life, from handling difficult conversations to pushing through fatigue during a workout. The more you practice leaning into discomfort, the more automatic it becomes to face challenges rather than avoid them. Embracing discomfort also eliminates the fear of failure. When you constantly test your limits, you redefine what failure means. Instead of seeing it as something to be avoided, you start seeing it as feedback. A guide that shows you where you need to improve. This perspective makes you bolder in your actions and less worried about what others think. Most people never achieve greatness because they're too afraid to fail. But if you're willing to embrace discomfort, you become immune to this fear. You understand that every failure is a stepping stone to success, not a reflection of your worth. The ultimate form of embracing discomfort is doing something every day that you don't want to do. Something that requires discipline and sacrifice. It could be waking up early to run, having that tough conversation you've been avoiding, or putting in extra hours on your side hustle after a long day of work. These actions, small as they may seem, build a habit of resilience. Each time you choose the harder path, you reinforce the belief that you can handle adversity. Over time, this habit compounds, turning you into someone who not only faces challenges head on, but actively seeks them out. The beauty of embracing discomfort is that it creates a cycle of growth. The more you do it, the stronger you become, and the bigger challenges you can take on. It's a self-feeding loop. Discomfort leads to growth, which leads to confidence, which leads to taking on even greater challenges. This cycle is what fuels the hunger for improvement. It transforms you from someone who merely survives life's difficulties into someone who thrives in them. You stop wishing for things to get easier and start working to get better. That's what it means to be truly hungry for growth. When you think you're done, you're only at 40% of your potential. This idea, known as the 40% rule, is a concept popularized by David Goggins to challenge the limits we unconsciously set for ourselves. Most of us have an internal governor, a mental barrier that convinces us to stop long before we've reached our true capacity. This governor is designed to keep us safe and comfortable, to prevent us from risking failure or experiencing pain. But comfort is the enemy of growth, and safety often comes at the cost of untapped potential. The 40% rule exposes this truth and urges us to push past that initial wall of discomfort. The power of the 40% rule lies in its simplicity. By recognizing that our minds tend to quit long before our bodies actually need to, we can consciously choose to override that impulse. For example, when you're exhausted during a workout and feel like you can't do another rep or run another mile, the 40% rule suggests that you've barely scratched the surface of what you're capable of. In that moment, if you decide to push a little further, to ignore the voice in your head that says, I can't, you begin to expand your limits. Every time you push past that mental wall, you teach your brain that it's possible to endure more than you thought. This process gradually raises the threshold at which you feel like quitting, effectively increasing your resilience and mental toughness. One of the reasons the 40% rule is so powerful is because it exposes how much of our limitations are self-imposed. Most people operate at a fraction of their potential, not because they lack the ability, but because they lack the mindset. Your brain's primary function is survival, not optimization. It will always prioritize conserving energy and avoiding pain. This is why so many people settle for mediocrity, not because they're incapable of more, but because they accept the limits their minds set for them. By embracing the 40% rule, you train yourself to override these survival instincts, to redefine what's possible, and to raise your standards for what you demand of yourself. To apply the 40% rule, you have to build a habit of going beyond what feels comfortable in every area of life. This could mean doing a few extra reps at the gym, making that additional sales call when you're ready to pack it in for the day, or staying up an extra hour to work on your side hustle. It's about intentionally seeking out situations that test your limits and then pushing a little bit further each time. Over time, these small acts of defiance compound, leading to exponential growth. You begin to realize that your limits were never real in the first place. They were illusions created by a mind that prefers safety over growth. The mental toughness that comes from living by the 40% rule extends beyond physical challenges. It prepares you for life's inevitable hardships, whether that's losing a job, dealing with a breakup, or facing financial difficulties. When you've conditioned your mind to endure discomfort voluntarily, you build a reservoir of resilience that you can draw upon in times of crisis. You've already proven to yourself time and time again that you're capable of pushing through pain, fatigue, and self-doubt. So when life throws something unexpected your way, you don't crumble. You lean in, push back, and keep moving forward. An essential part of the 40% rule is self-awareness. You have to recognize when you're hitting that mental wall and call yourself out on it. This requires brutal honesty. It's easy to convince yourself that you've done enough when in reality, you've only scratched the surface. Goggins talks about the accountability mirror, a practice of looking yourself in the eye and admitting where you're falling short. This kind of self-reflection isn't about guilt or self-criticism. It's about taking responsibility for unlocking your full potential. When you can honestly assess where you're holding back, you can make a conscious decision to push further, to reach for that extra 60% that most people never even attempt to access. The beauty of the 40% rule is that it's universally applicable. Whether you're an athlete, an entrepreneur, a student, or a parent, there are always moments when you feel like you've reached your limit. In those moments, remembering that you're only at 40% can be the difference between giving up and finding out what you're truly made of. It's a reminder that most barriers are mental, not physical, and that greatness lies on the other side of discomfort. Every time you choose to push beyond that initial stopping point, you expand your capacity, build your confidence, and redefine what's possible. Ultimately, the 40% rule is about refusing to settle for a life of unrealized potential. It's about adopting a mindset that thrives on challenge, that sees limits as starting points rather than finish lines. When you live by this rule, you stop wishing for things to get easier and start working to get better. You stop asking for fewer problems and start demanding more of yourself. And that's when true growth happens. Not in the absence of discomfort, but because of it. Callousing your mind is about building mental toughness through repeated exposure to hardship and discomfort. Just as your hands develop calluses when you lift weights or do manual labor, your mind can become tougher and more resilient when it's consistently challenged. This idea, championed by David Goggins, is all about deliberately seeking out difficult situations to train your mind to handle pain, adversity, and self-doubt without breaking. The goal isn't to avoid struggle, but to become so accustomed to it that it no longer holds power over you. Mental calluses protect you from the everyday stresses that paralyze most people. They allow you to keep moving forward when others quit, to push through pain when others retreat, and to silence the voice in your head that tells you to stop. The process of callousing your mind starts with small acts of defiance against your comfort zone. It might be something as simple as taking a cold shower every morning, running an extra mile when you're exhausted, or tackling tasks you've been avoiding. These actions, while seemingly insignificant, train your brain to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Over time, this habit of leaning into discomfort builds a psychological armor that makes you impervious to stress and fear. The more you expose yourself to situations that test your willpower, the thicker your mental calluses become. You start to view challenges differently, not as obstacles to be avoided, but as opportunities to get stronger. This shift in mindset is crucial for achieving anything meaningful in life. One of the most effective ways to callous your mind is through physical hardship. The body is a powerful tool for training the mind because physical pain is immediate and undeniable. When you push your body beyond its perceived limits through long runs, intense workouts, and grueling endurance challenges, you're also pushing your mind. You're forcing it to confront pain, fatigue, and the desire to quit. In these moments, when every fiber of your being is screaming to stop, you have a choice. Give in or keep going. Each time you choose to push forward, you add another layer of toughness to your mind. This is why Goggins embraces ultra-endurance events that test the limits of human capacity. It's not just about proving what the body can do, but about fortifying the mind to handle anything life throws at it. Mental callousing also comes from exposing yourself to psychological discomfort. Things like failure, rejection, and criticism. Most people avoid these experiences because they're painful to the ego. But if you want to build an unbreakable mindset, you have to deliberately seek them out. Apply for jobs you think you can't get. Start conversations with people who intimidate you and pursue goals that seem out of reach. Each time you get knocked down and choose to get back up, you toughen your mind. You teach yourself that failure isn't fatal and that rejection isn't the end of the world. This resilience becomes a mental callus that shields you from the fear of trying. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. Callousing your mind isn't just about surviving discomfort, it's about thriving in it. It's about becoming the kind of person who runs towards challenges instead of away from them. This mindset allows you to handle stress more effectively, to stay calm in chaos, and to persevere when others give up. It also changes your relationship with pain. Instead of seeing it as something to be avoided, you start to view pain as proof that you're growing. The harder it gets, the more you lean in, because you know that every moment of suffering is adding another layer of toughness to your mind. This approach creates a cycle of continuous growth. The more discomfort you embrace, the stronger you become, which enables you to take on even bigger challenges. A critical part of callousing your mind is mastering self-talk. The conversations you have with yourself in moments of struggle can either break you or build you. When you're exhausted, overwhelmed, or on the verge of quitting, that inner voice often tries to convince you to stop. Goggins talks about creating an accountability mirror, a practice of looking yourself in the eye and confronting the excuses and lies that hold you back. This level of brutal honesty is essential for mental callousing. It forces you to take responsibility for your weaknesses and do the work required to overcome them. When you learn to control your inner dialogue, to replace thoughts of quitting with affirmations of strength, you build a mind that refuses to break. The ultimate goal of callousing your mind is to develop an unshakable belief in your ability to endure and overcome anything. When your mind is calloused, you stop looking for shortcuts and start embracing the grind. You understand that true growth comes from the process, not the outcome. From showing up every day, putting in the work, and doing the things you don't want to do simply because you know they'll make you stronger. This mindset makes you resilient in a way that few people are. When others fold under pressure, you keep moving forward. When others settle for good enough, you demand more. And when others give up on their dreams, you double down on yours. That's the power of a calloused mind. Being relentless and uncompromising is about refusing to accept mediocrity in any aspect of your life. It's the mindset that separates the average from the exceptional and the successful from the merely ambitious. To be relentless is to pursue your goals with a level of intensity that most people can't sustain. It's about showing up every day, putting in the work, and refusing to quit no matter how difficult things get. This kind of determination isn't something you're born with. It's something you cultivate through discipline, grit, and an unwavering commitment to your vision. When you're relentless, setbacks don't deter you, they fuel you. Challenges become stepping stones rather than roadblocks, and failure becomes a lesson rather than a defeat. This mindset is what allows you to keep pushing forward when most people give up. The essence of being relentless lies in consistency. It's easy to be motivated for a day or even a week, but true relentlessness is about sustaining that fire over months and years. Regardless of how you feel, it means getting up early to train when you're exhausted, making those extra sales calls when you're already behind, and putting in the work even when no one is watching. Consistency is where most people fall short. They get excited about their goals, but as soon as the initial motivation fades, they start to slack off. Being relentless means doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. This kind of discipline creates a compounding effect over time, turning small daily actions into significant results. To be relentless, you also need to be ruthless about eliminating distractions and excuses. Most people fail to achieve their goals not because they lack ability, but because they allow too many things to get in the way. They make excuses about time, energy, and circumstances. But when you're truly relentless, excuses have no place in your life. You find a way to get things done no matter what. This requires a high level of self-awareness and a willingness to be brutally honest with yourself about where you're falling short. It's about looking in the mirror and owning your weaknesses without sugarcoating them. Only when you confront your excuses head on can you eliminate them. This kind of ruthless accountability is a hallmark of the relentless mindset. Being uncompromising is about maintaining your standards no matter what. It means refusing to settle for good enough when you know you're capable of more. Most people compromise their standards to fit in, to avoid conflict, or simply because they're tired. But if you want to achieve greatness, you have to be willing to stand alone, to demand excellence from yourself, even when it's inconvenient. This might mean saying no to opportunities that don't align with your goals, cutting ties with people who hold you back, or sacrificing short-term comfort for long-term success. Being uncompromising isn't about arrogance or perfectionism. It's about knowing your worth and refusing to accept anything less. When you uphold your standards consistently, you not only build confidence, but also send a message to the world that you won't be deterred. A relentless and uncompromising mindset also requires a high tolerance for pain and discomfort. The reality is, anything worth achieving will come with a significant amount of struggle. There will be days when you're exhausted, when nothing seems to be working, and when quitting feels like the easiest option. In those moments, the ability to endure pain without losing focus is what sets the relentless apart. Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. If you can teach yourself to keep moving forward, even when everything hurts, both physically and emotionally, you'll find that most barriers are mental rather than physical. This willingness to embrace pain is what builds mental toughness and resilience. It teaches you that discomfort is a sign that you're on the right path, not a reason to turn back. Critical aspect of being relentless and uncompromising is adaptability. Pursuing your goals with intensity doesn't mean being rigid in your approach. Sometimes the path you're on won't work out and you'll need to pivot. The key is to stay committed to your end goal while being flexible about how you get there. Adaptability requires humility. The ability to admit when something isn't working and the willingness to learn new skills or strategies. Being relentless doesn't mean banging your head against the same wall indefinitely. It means finding another way to break through if necessary. This balance between stubbornness about your goals and flexibility about your methods is what allows relentless people to keep progressing even when circumstances change. Being relentless and uncompromising is about living life on your own terms. It's about having a vision so clear and a desire so strong that nothing can shake you from your path. It's about showing up every day with the same level of commitment, regardless of how you feel or what obstacles arise. This kind of intensity might intimidate some people. It might make you seem obsessed, unbalanced, or even crazy. But in the end, the only way to achieve extraordinary results is to be willing to do what ordinary people won't. You have to be willing to sacrifice, to suffer, and to push past every limit that your mind tries to impose. Because that's what it truly means to be relentless and uncompromising. Turning pain into power is about transforming your struggles and hardships into fuel for growth and success. Everyone experiences pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological. It's an unavoidable part of life. However, what separates those who thrive from those who merely survive is how they choose to respond to that pain. Most people try to escape or numb it, seeking comfort to make it go away. But those who turn pain into power do the opposite. They lean into it, embrace it, and use it as a catalyst to push themselves further. They understand that pain is not the enemy, but a powerful teacher, revealing weaknesses that need to be strengthened and limits that need to be pushed. By changing the way you view pain from something to be avoided to something to be harnessed, you can unlock a level of resilience and motivation that few people ever reach. The first step in turning pain into power is to accept it fully. Denying or avoiding pain only makes it more powerful, because what you resist persists. Acceptance doesn't mean liking or wanting the pain. It means acknowledging its existence without judgment. When you face your pain head on, you strip it of its power to control you. This level of acceptance requires brutal honesty with yourself. It's about admitting where you're struggling, where you're weak, and where you failed without making excuses. This kind of self-reflection is uncomfortable, but it's also necessary. When you stop running from pain and start analyzing it, you begin to see it for what it really is: feedback. Pain is your body's and mind's way of telling you that something needs to change. It's a signal that you're either pushing your limits or that you need to develop new skills, mindsets, or habits to overcome the obstacles in front of you. Once you've accepted your pain, the next step is to find meaning in it. This is about reframing your pain as something that can serve a higher purpose. This process of finding meaning in pain is what psychologists call post-traumatic growth. It's the idea that adversity, rather than breaking you, can actually build you into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person if you choose to let it. This mindset shift from seeing pain as pointless to seeing it as purposeful turns every hardship into an opportunity for growth. Turning pain into power also requires action. It's not enough to simply endure pain. You have to channel it into something productive. This could mean hitting the gym harder when life gets tough, pouring your energy into a creative project, or using the anger from a setback to fuel late-night work sessions. Action transforms pain into progress. Without action, pain just festers, leading to bitterness and despair. But when you use pain as a driving force to push yourself harder, to dig deeper, and to refuse to quit, it becomes a source of power rather than a prison. This approach not only builds physical and mental toughness, but also creates a sense of control. When you can look back at your most painful moments and see how they led to your greatest achievements, pain loses its ability to intimidate you. Key to transforming pain into power is resilience, the ability to bounce back stronger after setbacks. Resilience is built through repeated exposure to hardship and by proving to yourself again and again that you can survive and thrive despite it. Each time you get back up after being knocked down, you build a mental callus that makes you tougher and more capable of handling even greater challenges. This resilience is what allows you to see pain not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone. It's the realization that no matter how bad things get, you have the power to keep moving forward. This belief in your ability to overcome is what transforms pain from something that stops you into something that fuels you. A crucial aspect of turning pain into power is controlling your inner dialogue. When you're in pain, your mind will naturally flood you with negative thoughts, telling you that you're not good enough, that it's not worth it, that you should just quit. If you listen to this voice, pain wins. But if you can take control of your self-talk, replacing thoughts of defeat with affirmations of strength, you can flip the script. Instead of thinking, I can't handle this, tell yourself, this is making me stronger. Instead of saying, why me? Ask, what can I learn from this? This practice of reframing your inner dialogue doesn't eliminate pain, but it does prevent it from breaking you. It's a way of using your mind as a weapon rather than a weakness. Turning pain into power is about refusing to let life's hardships define you. It's about deciding that no matter how bad things get, you will not only survive, but thrive. This decision to use pain as a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block is what separates those who live life on their own terms from those who are controlled by their circumstances. When you master this mindset, pain stops being something to fear. Instead, it becomes proof that you're pushing your limits, that you're growing, and that you're becoming stronger than you were before. That's the true power of pain, not in breaking you, but in building you into the person you were always meant to be. Taking souls is a concept that goes beyond mere competition. It's about breaking the will of those who doubt you, those who challenge you, and even the parts of yourself that hold you back. Coined by David Goggins, this mindset is about using every ounce of adversity thrown at you to demoralize your opponents. Not by taunting them or stooping to their level, but by outperforming them in such a dominant fashion that they're left questioning their own capability. It's the moment when someone sees you refuse to quit despite impossible odds, when they watch you smile through pain that would break most people. In that instant, you've taken their soul. It's not about revenge or proving people wrong. It's about proving to yourself that you can thrive in the face of any challenge. The real battle is always with yourself. And taking souls is a way to silence the voices of doubt and weakness that try to stop you. This mindset starts with embracing hardship rather than avoiding it. Most people try to steer clear of situations that are difficult, painful, or intimidating. But to take souls, you have to run towards those situations. Every obstacle is an opportunity to demonstrate your grit, not just to others, but to yourself. When you willingly put yourself through grueling challenges and refuse to back down, you build a level of confidence that can't be faked. This willingness to embrace pain is what separates those who merely talk about resilience from those who live it. Pain becomes a tool rather than a threat, something you can wield to demoralize your opponents and energize yourself. When others see you thriving in situations that would break them, they start to doubt their own strength. That's when you've taken their soul. The core of taking souls is maintaining an unbreakable spirit no matter what. Life is full of people who will try to tear you down. Competitors, critics, even friends and family who don't understand your vision. The goal is to respond to every slight, every doubt, and every challenge with such overwhelming determination that you force them to reconsider their judgments. It's about keeping a smile on your face when things are at their worst. showing calmness in chaos, and pushing even harder when people expect you to quit. This doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means acknowledging the pain, the fatigue, and the frustration, and choosing to keep going anyway. When others see that nothing can break your will, it breaks theirs instead. A key aspect of this mindset is mastering the art of silence. Most people feel the need to broadcast their struggles, to seek sympathy or validation. But when you move in silence, letting your actions speak louder than your words, you become unpredictable and therefore more intimidating. Taking souls isn't about telling your opponents what you're going to do. It's about showing them. The less you say, the more they're left wondering what drives you, how far you're willing to go, and what else you have in store. This uncertainty creates a psychological edge that can be more powerful than any physical advantage. When people can't figure you out, they start to doubt themselves instead. Vital part of this mindset is finding strength in your darkest moments. Vital part of this mindset is finding strength in your darkest moments. Taking souls doesn't happen when things are easy. It happens when you're exhausted, outmatched, and on the verge of breaking. It's in these moments that most people give up, and that's why they're so powerful. If you can find a way to smile, to accelerate, or to dig deeper when everything in you is screaming to stop, you send a clear message, not just to your opponents, but to yourself. That message is simple. There's nothing that can break you. This inner strength is what makes taking souls possible. It's not about eliminating pain, but about proving that pain has no say in what you do. When you reach this level of mental toughness, you become unstoppable, because the worst that life can throw at you is no longer something to fear, it's something to conquer. Taking souls is also about outworking everyone around you, especially when they're watching. Most people work hard when they're motivated, or when they think someone is keeping score. But the soul taker works hardest when others expect them to quit. It's about doing the extra rep at the gym when everyone else has left, staying late at work when your colleagues have gone home, and refusing to slow down even when you've already proven your point. This relentless work ethic not only builds your own confidence, but also demoralizes those who thought they could keep up. When people see that you're willing to go to lengths they won't, they start to question their own dedication. That's how you take their soul, by showing them that their limits are nowhere near. Taking souls is about proving that the only limits that matter are the ones you set for yourself. It's about refusing to let anyone else's opinion define your capabilities and refusing to let pain dictate your actions. This mindset requires an extreme level of discipline and a willingness to suffer more than most people are comfortable with. But once you embrace it, pain stops being a deterrent and starts being a weapon. A way to show the world that no matter how hard it hits, you will always hit back harder. This is the essence of taking souls, turning every ounce of adversity into a demonstration of your unbreakable will. When you master this mindset, you don't just survive the battles life throws at you, you dominate them.